So Maharajji, you want to talk first? Say something in glorification of Lord Ram? No. I'm just... Ready?
You're all set.
Are you ready, Maharaj?
I'm ready, but you're all more ready.
No. Once I start, I'm not going to stop. Okay? So I'm asking you, would you like to speak? Yeah, speak. We also have this here.
I see.
It can easily be put from this head to that head.
I can help.
Yeah, but he should sit over here. Move your chair over here so everyone can see you. You can move the mic up a little bit more toward your mouth.
Shri Rupa Shri Sanitam Bhatravana, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhakti Tasravana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai. Dandavad Sastam Pranams, Anandanitanj Varsi Ramai Guru Maharaj, Nitya Leela Pravishtamashtu Tadavita Shishma Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Mahishtha Prabhupada, Mani Purnana, Satyananda Maharaj, Shri Ramai Shikshana, Asanas Guru Vedas, Nitya Leela Pravishtamashtu Tadavita Shishma Shri Bhaktivedanta, Shri Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Leela Pravishtamashtu Tadavita Shishma Bhaktivedanta. Srila Rama Goswami Maharaj, all the Rupanuga Acharyas, line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, my godbrothers, Sannyas, Gurugan, Srila Bhakti, Vedanta, Padmanabha Goswami Maharaj, Dandavas. Such a powerful appearance day of seventh incarnation of the Lord, Sri Ramachandra. So Ravan had got a benediction from Lord Rama that he wouldn't be killed by any demigod, any deva, any animal. But he didn't ask for a boon that he couldn't be killed by any human being. So the demigods approached Lord Brahma and asked the same Lord Brahma who had given him that boon to please save the universe. Ravan was creating so much havoc throughout the world. So then we know that Sri Ramachandra took birth in the dynasty of Dasarath Sutta. So I'll just speak some brief things and then Maharaj is ready to speak the rest 2 or 3, 4 more hours. So we'll listen to that. I remember Sri Maharaj, our Gurudev, before coming to as a Krishna Bhakta, as a Vaishnava, he was Ram Bhakta. And he was born right close to the place where Lord Ram delivered Ahaya, I think. Turaripur. So I had the opportunity to travel with Srila Gurudev so many times, as Maharaj also and many of you. And for a while, for 6 or 8 months, I was traveling with him, constantly giving him some medical treatments. And when we were in Florida, the devotee there had rented like 14, 15 videotapes of the Ramayana and Mahabharata. And so Gurudev would watch those every day. And when I was giving him a treatment, it was like 2 or 3 hours, I would watch Srila Gurudev watch those videos. My God, especially when he was watching Ramayana. He would be so enthusiastic and happy and jubilant when in these scenes where there was goodness and happiness and prosperity, etc. And he was very intently listening. And when there was a fighting scene, my God, he would sit forward and he would be in that fight. And if it was a sad scene where Sita had been kidnapped or banished, etc., and he would cry and cry. In 1976, when I was in Los Angeles, that was the first time that they gave a devotee exposition. Prabhupada was there of the movie called the Hare Krishna People. I think that was the name of it, Hare Krishna People. And Prabhupada was there on the Vyasana, and it was the same feeling I felt when I was with Srila Maharaj, because I was looking at the Ramayana, because you had to read the subtitles, and then look at Gurudev. It was like Gurudev was so attractive how his responses were. And similarly, when Prabhupada saw that movie, the Hare Krishna People, he was very enthusiastic, and they would show the different services and devotees chanting and all throughout the world, and Prabhupada was so happy. And sometimes they would show the deities being offered prasadam, and they would bring a plate out, and Prabhupada would like go to grab some of the Mahaprasadam, and sometimes he would cry also. So he was very attracted to Ram, Lakshman, Sitaram. And then he met Kunj Bihari Prabhu, I think, and different devotees, and became attracted by the mercy of his Gurudev to Vaishnavism. So that is his Naravat Leela. He's eternally associated with Radharani. So I'll say a few things that I remember him speak on. He would say, no one names their child, their daughter, Kaikeyi in the world. Amongst the Hindu side, no one's name is Kaikeyi, because people think that Kaikeyi was a bad element of the Ramayana. She had a very bad. Even Bharata, her son, when he came back when he came back to Ayodhya from away, and he had been told, well, Rama was going to be the king regent, but then your mother Kaikeyi banished him and wanted you to be the king instead. And Bharat heard this and he said, I will never consider my mother. And we know that he ran to the forest and tried to bring Ram back, etc., etc. And pardon me for jumping around, but I remember there was when Bharata tried to bring Ram back from the forest and he would take his place. Ram was Purushottam, Maryada Purushottam, very righteous, dharmic, truthfulness, etc. So there was a debate between Ram and Bharata about him coming back to the kingdom. Ram said, I was asked by my father to do this. And so I am bound by that, my father's wish. If he wanted me to be the king, I would have been king. If he wanted to cast me away, then he can do whatever he wants. So there was a court set up. I think Janak or Jana? Janak Maharaj was the judge. So he heard both of these Bharata's determination to bring Ram back, and he heard Ram's determination to go to the forest. So he was the judge in that, and he finally concluded after both sides were finished with their different positions. He said, well, Bharata has won because he has so much love for Ram. But he said, I want to ask Bharata one question. You love Ram so much, you would give your life for him. You want him to come back to kingdom, you'll take his exile. So you have won. Your love is so profound. But I have a question. In your love for Ram, have you thought about what would make Ram happy? Are you thinking about what he wants? That is true love. Not that you want what you want to make you happy, but you want to make your beloved happy. So Bharata conceded. So many wonderful leelas in the Ramayana. So I started with the premise that Kaikeyi is considered a bad person. Actually, when Ram was very young, Kaikeyi had more love for Ram than she did even for her son Bharata. It was such a wonderful dynasty and all these personalities. So before Kaikeyi entered the picture as Ram's wife, Dasarath was touring his kingdom, and I think he was going to do a horse sacrifice. Maybe that's different. Ashtamedha. So he came to King Kaikeya's kingdom on this journey, and he took rest there, and King Kaikeya received him as an honored guest and took care of him, and had his daughter Kaikeyi see to the needs of King Dasarath. So I was thinking, if you've got an unmarried daughter and a wonderful king comes, then you're practically writing her off. Anyway, King Dasarath was very, very impressed by her service and also her beauty. And so he asked King Kaikeya for her hand in marriage. And King Kaikeya said, well, you have other wives and you will have children soon, so I will not concede to have you marry my daughter, because I want her son to be the king. And Dasarath said, I have 350 wives and I'm still childless. I still have no... So obviously, maybe this is an arrangement, so if her son is born, then he can be the king, and then I'll finally be a father. So he agreed. Later he forgot this agreement. So also, when Ram was a young boy, he approached Kaikeyi, and he said, his brother was Bharata and Satrughna from Sumitra, and Lakshman, but he approached Queen Kaikeyi and he said, now I am young, but when I become older, please correct me if I'm wrong, but when I'm older, I want you to promise me that there'll be some arrangements for me to be the king. And she became very happy. But I don't want you to be satisfied with it. I want you to demand that your son Bharata become the king, and I am cast away for 12 years. And she said, oh my God, I'll never do this. And he said, "Oh, please, I beg you. This is my destiny." Anyway, there's some back and forth, I forget. But she agreed. So then many years passed. So also, King Dasarath, when he was touring, he even became injured in some of his endeavors in the kingdom. And Kaikeyi nurtured him back to life. And he was so appreciative for her service that he told her, "I want to give you 2 boons. Anything you want, I will give for you in my repayment to your kind care." She said, no, I don't want, and it was just my service. Later, if I see something, then I. So she didn't take those 2 boons then, which later she did, as we know. So the Ramayana is so full of so much joy and so much maryada, so much dharmic. Ram had made a very profound vow to be Ekapatni. In his previous incarnation of Krishna, in Dwarka he had 16,108 queens. And in Vrindavan so many gopis. But in his Leela as Ramachandra, he vowed only to be Ekapatni, one wife. So, as we know, and Maharaj will also speak about the glories of the Ramayana and how it broke the hearts of so many persons. There was so much jubilation when the townspeople heard that Rama was going to be made the king regent. There was so much happiness. So much happiness went around all of the Ayodhya. So much happiness. They all loved Ram so much, and they knew he would make such a wonderful king. So then there was a pastime where a maidservant of Kaikeyi named Manthara convinced with her devious mind and reminded Kaikeyi of her boons that Dasarath promised to her, that her son would be king. Manthara advised Kaikeyi to take advantage of those boons, because she said, why has Dasarath decided while Bharata's away to make him king regent? When Bharata returns, then he'll be treated as an outsider, and you'll be cast away like an insignificant maidservant. Anyway, Kaikeyi was so much in love with Rama, she didn't pay any attention until finally she was convinced, being a little weak-hearted. And also it was Lord Ram's pastime necessity to be played out. So she took advantage of those 2 boons and told Dasarath that I want my son to be Bharata to be the king, and you send Ram away for 12 years. 14. And Dasarath heard that. He couldn't believe it. I remember there was a play in Los Angeles. Sometimes the Vaikuntha players would come and put on, we know their famous play that they did. Who played Ravan? What was his name? In the Vaikuntha players? Prajapati. Yeah, anyway. And one time I played Dasarath. And when Dasarath heard that Kaikeyi had taken these boons, and he was bound to his promise, I will give you whatever you want. Well, my first desire is that you make my son the king regent. Dasarath heard this and banished Ram to the forest for 14 years. Dasarath Maharaj was heartbroken. And eventually he gave up his life. He couldn't bear to be separated from Ram. When the townspeople heard that Rama was going to be king, they were so happy. But then when they heard that the things changed, then they all decided to go to the forest with Rama. Sita wanted to go. Lakshman wanted to go. Of course, Bharati, when he came back, well, I'll go to the forest instead of you. But so the whole Ayodhya wanted to go to the forest with Ram, and he stopped them and said, no. So the Ramayana plays out in such a wonderful way. And they lived so happily in the forest together, living simply with tree bark, etc., etc. Simple living. So these appearance days of... Why do we celebrate the appearance days of the avatars and not their disappearance days? Because actually they have no disappearance. And Sri Guru has a disappearance day, but he's not actually disappearing. One time, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj was asked at the time, right after the departure of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, he said, how did you feel after the departure of your Gurudev? Departure? He's not gone anywhere. So, appearance and departure, Avirbhav and Tirubhav, Leela is a pastime, and they disappear from our vision, but they're eternally existing, and we get their association when we follow their instructions. He lives eternally in his instructions, and his followers live with him. So many of the different Leelas of Ram, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, and Hanuman's glories. One Leela of Hanuman that Gurudev loved to tell is he had so many services in Ayodhya. He would do so much service for Ram and Sita. So there was no service for anyone else to do. So the others convened amongst themselves and decided, we will take the services of Hanuman so we can have some seva to Lord Ram. So they were very happy, but when Hanuman heard this, he was heart-struck. You will take my service away? Please, just give me one service. And so they said, well, okay, you can have the service of when Lord Ramachandra, when he yawns, then you snap your fingers. So Hanuman was very happy, he had a service. So he thought, well, I'm not with Ram all the time. What if he yawns and I'm not with him? So I'll just always snap my fingers. And the others in Ayodhya, they saw that Ramachandra, he was constantly yawning, non-stop, yawning. And then they went, and there was Hanuman in the corner, and he was if you've ever yawned in an assembly of Hindus, if they see you yawn, they'll immediately do this, because they remember that pastime. One time, Hanuman, he saw Sita, and she was applying the sindoor in her hair. He said, oh, Ma, what are you doing? She said, to give my Lord Ram long life, I am putting the cinder in my hair, and my vow to him. So Hanuman thought, wow, if she can just put a little bit. So then we all seen Hanuman, and he's covered with orange or red, because Hanuman started putting that cinder all over his body, and everyone was laughing, but Hanuman was very happy because he was serving his Lord. So hearing these Leelas of Ramachandra, all these avatars, we sang Das Avatars stotra, just hearing these leelas are so powerful for us that we're immediately granted a complete purification of our prior activities, non-devotional activities, and given guaranteed entrance into the Supreme Lord's abode. Jai Sachinanda Gaur Hari, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jaya, Vanchakapadavya's Chakri Pasindev Tapatina Vaishnavana. Jai Sitaram.
Gauranga Haribol Haribol. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Chise Namah. Nityanandam Namastubhyam Prem Ananda Pradayane Kalo Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Namah. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Vataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanshana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Brindai Tulsi Debbai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Sachavachai Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. First, I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of all my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, especially on this divine appearance day of Lord Ramachandra. But there's another great Vaishnava who also appeared on this day, which is on our Vaishnava calendar. Yes, and he is Srila Bhakti Balabhatirtha Goswami Maharaj. who became the Acharya of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math after his Guru Maharaj Srila Bhakti Doyata Madhava Goswami Maharaj. So he is born on this day, appearance day of Lord Ram. So we offer unlimited Dandavat Pranams at his lotus feet. My Dandavat Pranams to all my Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis, and Lord Ramachandra Bhagavan Ki Jai. This is called the Ramayana. You know what the Ramayana is? You know what the Ramayana is? What? What is the Ramayana? Ramayana. What does that mean? Do you know that? No, you don't. Nobody's answering me. It means the life of Lord Ram. This Ramayana sits next to the Mahabharata. These two books are Shastras that have been accepted by the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya in the highest way. Valmiki Ramayana. There's also a Tulsidas Ramayana, which our Gurudev, as we learned just now, he was born as a devotee of Lord Ram. But there was also an incident in Badger, California, that some news was given to him that ISKCON was saying that Tulsi Ramayana is very unbonafide and there's Mayavad mixed in this and that. And Gurudev let them have it. He let them have it. Because he has relished that his whole life. Tulsi Ramayana. So they're both bona fide Shastras, but this is the authentic Vedic Shastra coming down in the line of Srila Vyasadeva. So, in India, you can ask anyone, what is the Ramayana? And they'll tell, oh, Lord Ram, the life of Lord Ram, Ramayana. If you ask anyone, what is the Mahabharata? They will also tell you, because as we heard, they have made movies about it, with many, 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 many parts. Some of them 50 parts long. 70? You know? So, these Shastras are narrating the pastimes of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And when Bhagavan Sri Krishna descends into this world, and he has a specific purpose, a specific intention, which is to do what? Which is to re-establish Dharma. Does Krishna say that about his incarnations in the Bhagavad Gita? What does he say? Tadatmanam Srijamyaham. Then? Sadhunam Chaduskritam Dharma Samstapanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Yuga after yuga, I descend in this world. This is Krishna's words. But does Krishna always descend yuga after yuga after yuga? Himself, personally? The son of Maharaj Nanda? No. He does that only once in a day of Brahma. Only after billions of years. But every yuga, he comes. Krishna, why does he come? Dharma samstapanartaya. To establish Dharma. So, this incarnation of Lord Ram he's also Lord Krishna. In a very specific way. He's also extremely beautiful. But his agenda, when he appears in this world, is to establish a particular type of Dharma. And what Dharma is that? Yes. He is called Maryada Purushottam. What is Krishna called? Leela Purushottam. So, when Krishna comes as Lord Ram, he has come to establish Maryada. Maryada means proper etiquette according to all Vedic scriptures, all definitions of Dharma that people follow, especially Varnashram Dharma and so forth. There are so many Dharmas in the Vedas. Family Dharma, social Dharma. But the highest Dharma is what? Sanatan Dharma. And Sanatan means what? It means the eternal Dharma. And what does Dharma mean? Anyone who's read the Jaiva Dharma will know what the word Dharma means, because Dharma means that constitutional function. So we are all eternal living entities. We're called Jivatmas. And we're all eternal parts and parcels of the Supreme Absolute Truth, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. We are emanations from His Shakti. And what is our Dharma? Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written the whole book, Jaiva Dharma, the Dharma of the Jiva. And what is the Jaiva Dharma? In one sentence. Jiver Swarup Hoy Krishner Nitya Das. This is the Dharma. This is the function of the Jiva, and his Swarup is to be the eternal servant. Krishner Nitya Das. And what is the reason why? Because Krishner Tatastha Shakti. Because the Jiva is actually Krishna's Tatastha Shakti. And Krishna's Shakti is for serving Krishna. But now the Jivas, who have been given free will, they have made a decision at some point in time to do something which is not in line with their Sanatan Dharma. And now they want to imitate Krishna. They want to think that they have become the enjoyers. Excuse me. So the whole material creation is created for the Jivas to play out their fantasies in the material world. That I'm the enjoyer, I'm the enjoyer, I'm the enjoyer. Life after life after life. Doesn't matter what species they're in. But in the human form, they are given an opportunity to consider, am I really the enjoyer? It seems like I'm doing nothing but suffering most of the time. That means I'm not the enjoyer. There's something wrong here. And then they begin to inquire. And for that purpose, Krishna descends. Krishna also says, Paritranaya sadhunam. To deliver my devotees, I descend in this world. And how does Krishna descend to deliver the jivas? Sometimes he personally comes. Sometimes he expands himself as his expansion incarnation. In that case, like Lord Ram is the expansion of Krishna. And sometimes in the form of Guru Tattva, or an eternal associate descends into this world, and he plays this part of the servant of Krishna and teaches all the jivas how to serve Krishna. So Lord Ram's function at that time was to establish Dharma. So that type of Dharma, Maryada, means very strict. So Lord Ram, although he's the supreme transcendental enjoyer, and even in the Vedic times, kings had many hundreds of wives sometimes. His own father, Lord Ram's father, had how many?
350.
350 wives. So the Kshatriya kings, they could have many, many wives. But did Lord Ram have more wives? No, only one. Only one. He accepted who? His internal potency. Srimati Sita Devi, who is actually an expansion of who? Srimati Radharani. But in that incarnation now, they will exhibit the activities like human beings in this world, who are ruled by Varnashram Dharma and the divisions of society, Kshatriya and so forth. So, Lord Ram took birth in a Kshatriya dynasty. Most of the incarnations and most of the very exalted devotees, they take birth in Kshatriya families. Kshatriya families. And you'll see in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many histories of the lives of so many great Kshatriya kings. And in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says that Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manur ikshvakave bravit. And then what's the next one? Manur Ikshvakabeva Abravit. So, millions of years ago I spoke this science to the sun god. But then, in course of time, as it was being handed down, this science became lost. Krishna is telling to Arjuna. Huh? What is it? We're all being stumped. Yes. Yes, we know that part. But give me the beginning. Anyway, in course of time. Sakale neho mahata yoga nashtak parantapa. Kale neha means in the course of time. It's the nature of this world, that everything becomes gradually altered and changed, and it disappears. So therefore the Lord has to come again and again and again to reestablish that. Yuge. So Lord Ramachandra's life story and history is so valuable for the human society. And you can see that amongst the Hindus, they like the pastimes of Lord Ram very much. They can kind of relate with that. But with the pastimes of Lord Krishna, which are in the highest level of rasa, because they're very steeped in material consciousness, they identify more with the pastimes of Lord Ram. And Lord Ram came to demonstrate that to the human society. But he demonstrated ekapatni vrat, having only one wife. So the Ramayana has various divisions. Lord Ram's appearance in this world, his growing up in childhood, his being trained by his gurus, then Vishwamitra Muni coming and wanting to borrow these two boys, Ram and Lakshman, because there's some demons to be killed, and there were demons that were terrorizing all the rishis in the forest, huh? Yeah, yagyas and so forth. And so then, but when Maharaj Dasarat was going to have to give his permission that his sons, they never had gone away before. They were teenage boys at that time. And he was trying to consult with his guru, Vishisht Muni. But then his guru told him, no, you should give your permission. It will be very good for them also. And they will be with Vishwamitra Muni, and they will receive so much benedictions, and they will learn so many things. So finally Dasarath had to concede. But it was very difficult for him to be away from Ram and Lakshman. So then they went, and they performed these amazing activities of slaughtering these demons. Then after that, then came the pastime where he went to Janakpuri with Vishwamitra Muni, and there was going to be the wedding ceremony of his daughter. Who was his daughter?
Sita.
Yes. And kings came from all over. In fact, even Ravana came there, because Sita Devi was extremely beautiful and very highly positioned as the daughter of King Janak. So everyone tried. There was a bowl of Lord Shiva, which it was stated, and it's there in Gurudev's lecture, that even 1,000 men could barely even budge it, could even lift it. So all tried. Ravana also tried. But I think in the film it shows that his fingers got stuck underneath it. Yeah. So anyway, then Lord Ram came there, and very easily he picked up this bow. Just very easily he picked it up. And now he was going to string the bow and shoot an arrow. And he strung the bow. But then what happened to the bow? It cracked because of the power of Lord Ram. And then who came there? Parashuram. Because Parashuram is also an incarnation of Krishna. But his purpose was to do what? To destroy all the Kshatriyas who had deviated from the Vedic culture. And we're talking about yugas, previous yugas also. Now everything is deviated in this world. There is no Kshatriya culture, no, nothing. Everyone are demons, all the so-called leaders of the world. And there's no system of properly reigning over the citizens. So, but Parasuram, he had the duty to destroy. And how many times did he destroy? All the Kshatriya dynasties and drive them out of India. How many? 21 times, over and over and over and over again, he destroyed them. He was very angry. Do you know that Parasuram could travel? How quickly could he travel? How quickly could he move? Do you know? Speed of the mind. So when Parasuram, with his, what's that called? The curved axe, chopper. When he was moving amongst the Kshatriyas, you could not even see him. All you saw was heads, hundreds of heads falling to the ground. Okay? So it's very easy, because he's Bhagavan. He's an expansion of Bhagavan. But he had a very angry streak in him. And that was there for this purpose. So when he appeared there, that he had in front of Lord Ram, who had broken the bow, then Lord Ram addressed him. And he says, "What do you want me to do? To kill you or to kill your anger?" And he chose, "Please kill my anger." And then Lord Ram completely dissolved all of Parasuram's anger. And then Parasuram became surrendered at the lotus feet of Lord Ram. So in this way, the Ramayana continues. You heard something from Maharaj Ji about Kaikeyi and how she had a benediction that was given to her by Maharaj Dasarat on a battlefield, because she saved the chariot on the battlefield, saved his life actually. She was daughter of king and Kshatriya daughter. So then he gave her benediction that at any time she can choose to have this benediction. And she said, "Okay, I will wait. I will wait till the right time." And then what happened? What right time came along? When Lord Ram was now going to be coronated as the king, right? Yes? Yes. He was the person who was going to be coronated as the king. But then what happened? Then Kaikeyi approached Maharaj Dasarat and said, "You remember that benediction you gave me? Well, I'd like to have it fulfilled by you now." And then she told him something that he could not even believe was coming out of her mouth. That I want that my son, Bharat, he will be the king. And Ram will be banished to the forest. For how many years? 14 years. And Dasarat, he began falling to the ground, unconscious, fainting, and begging and pleading to her. But she wouldn't change. Why was that? We also heard that once when Lord Ram was small, and actually Kaikeyi had more love for little Ram than she had for her own son Bharat. And Lord Ram, as a little boy, was sitting on her lap. And then he said to her, "Oh, mother, I want you to do something for me." "Yes? I want you to do something for me, and you have to promise that you will do it." "Yes?" And then he said, and he described the whole incident, that when it's time for me to be coronated and so forth, that you will banish me to the forest. And this was impossible for Kaikeyi to even imagine, to do such a thing, right? So then she also requested, "Please, anything else, not this." And he said, No. This will be good for the entire world if you do this." So she became defamed in the entire world, most people don't really know the details of this pastime in Lord Ram's pastimes. They don't know that actually he requested her to be like that. And so she accepted that because of her great love for Ram. So in this way began the next chapter of the banishment of Lord Ram to the forest. And then there are sections of that banishment. Basically, the Ramayana has 3 parts: before the banishment, during the banishment, and after. Right? So when Lord Ram had to go to the forest, we also heard already a little bit something about Bharat and how the whole kingdom of Ayodhya came there with Bharat. They came to, what was it, Kishkinda? No, what was the place again? I forget. They came to this place where Lord Ram was now going to leave to go. And Bharat and the whole kingdom, they came there also to beg that he will not. And even Kaikeyi came there. And she also said, no, my promise, I can rescind my order that he should go like this. But no, Ram was determined. And why? Here comes the Maryada Purushottama. What was the proper Maryada that he would follow? His father died after he left the palace, and his father died because he was going to be banished to the forest. So therefore, Lord Ram accepted that, because his father he was forced to agree to that. And so that became the request of his father. So to follow the order of the father is topmost, especially for Kshatriyas, to follow the order of the king. And so in this way, Lord Ram, he would not change his mind. And even Bharat approached him and told him, no, I will not be you must be. And we just heard that then there was the case of judging, because Lord Bharat, he was so attached to Lord Ram. His heart was so much in love with Lord Ram. And he could not tolerate that he, in place of Ram, would be the king. So then Janak had to intercede, because Janak Maharaj is very much a personality of understanding what is true Dharma in the highest sense. And then that question came from him. So everyone is requesting Lord Ram, and by their requests and by their desire, they are conquering over Lord Ram's, desire to go to the forest and follow his father's order. So everyone has actually conquered over by their love. But has anyone bothered to ask Lord Ram what he wants? You see? So this is where the question of love, true love, and pure bhakti comes. Because what is pure bhakti? We're always hearing the definition verse of pure bhakti. What is that? Anya Vilashita. So, Gurudev always says the third line is the main line. And what does that say? Anukul Yena Krishna Anushilanam. All activities of the body, mind, words, emotions, everything will be for what? For the benefit. Anukul, for Krishna, for his benefit. And we know, like for example, one example is given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, how Yashoda Devi, he was making Krishna cry, and Krishna was not happy when she put him down to save the milk on the stove. So was she doing pure bhakti? Because Krishna became very unhappy and very frustrated, and then he decided to do some very supreme mischief and broke the pots of yogurt and butter and began feeding it to the monkeys and everything. But was Yashoda acting according to this definition for Krishna's pleasure? Sometimes people translate this as for the pleasure of Krishna, for Krishna's happiness, but no, it means for Krishna's benefit. That's the real definition. And that's all she ever thinks of. Trillions and trillions of desires that go through Yashoda are only based upon this one consideration. What is beneficial for Krishna? What is beneficial for Krishna? You see? So in this way, Janak told, let's ask Lord Ram. And then they asked him, and he told, I want to go. I want to follow the order of my father. So this is Maryada Purushottama, demonstrating to the human society. Everything in Lord Ram's pastimes is a demonstration for the human society, how they should live, how they should act, how they should follow the Vedic instructions and codes and all of that. Okay. So then came the period of wandering. We know that also he came to Navadvip Dham here, before they met Hanuman, you see, in the beginning of their wandering, then they came here. And then there's that pastime in Mamagachi, which Gurudev loved to tell, in that big open area. And then Gurudev would become overwhelmed because of his attachment to Lord Ram and from his early years. So then Gurudev would be telling how Lord Ram was describing to Sita Devi that in the future he will come as in a golden form. And in that golden form he will distribute Krishna prem to everyone. And then at the age of 24, he will take sannyas. And he will leave his mother, his old mother, and his young wife. He will leave them crying and crying for the rest of their lives. And Sita asked, well, my lord, why would you do like that? And then he had to explain to Sita Devi what is the actual nature of prem. Prem is like a river which has two banks. You can't have a river without two banks. So prem has two banks, and one bank is meeting with Krishna, sambhog, enjoying the meeting with Krishna. And what is the other one? Vipralamba, the separation mood, which outwardly is extremely painful, but inwardly is what? Millions of times superior. Why? Because with that intensity in the mood of Vipralamba, actually they're meeting Krishna internally. You will not be able to see it from externally, but the symptoms you can see. Like the gopis who were searching for Krishna in the forest after Krishna left the rasa dance. And they were imitating Krishna's pastimes and saying, I'm Krishna. But what was their mood? Their mood was full of divine ecstasy. They were all overwhelmed in the ecstasy of separation, you see. So inwardly, it is anandamoy. There's one sloka in Bengali, I can't remember. Externally, it is burning like fire, but internally, anandamoy, the highest bliss. So therefore, Lord Ram began to explain to Sita that actually this is the causeless mercy of the Lord, that He gives His devotees this experience of separation mood. So now comes and then she understood, and then she appreciated so much, and they stayed there. There was a big banyan tree there. So then begins the separation sequence in the Ramayana. And what happened? They were so happily always wandering from one place to another, and then finally they came to a place, and who was watching their wandering? The big demon. What's his name? What? Everyone, what? Oh. But who is Ravan? Ravan is actually from Vaikuntha. He's one of the gatekeepers, Jai Vijay. And this was meant to take place because the Lord needed to come to this world and perform these pastimes. So therefore the four Kumars came there, etc. You know the story. And then four Kumars cursed them, and then they were given a choice either to come after 3 lifetimes back to Vaikuntha or to come after 7 lifetimes. And they chose 3. So in this way, these 2 gatekeepers came in the 3 different pastimes of the Lord. First one was what? What was the first Leela? Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. What was the second one? Ravan and Kumbhakarna. And the third one? Yes. So in this way, in all 3 of these sequences, they were killed by the Lord. They were killed by the Lord 3 times. Did they again come in Gaur Leela? But wait a minute, I thought it was only 3 births. Well, what's going on here? Can you explain why they came in Gaur Leela? I thought they were supposed to go back. No one can tell.
They wanted to get Lord Chaitanya's mercy, so they volunteered to come again.
Okay, that's a good try. Yes. Because actually Krishna is non-different. Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. And to complete their Leela, they came in Gaur Leela to be the example of how the Lord is so supremely merciful that He'll even deliver 2 drunkard dacoits, very extremely bad, sinful. He'll even deliver them and give them Krishna praying. You see. So I was telling that's why Devananda Gaudiya Math has Jai and Vijay, who are standing as the gatekeepers there. Srila Sridhar Maharaj was a little bit, he had a difference of opinion that they shouldn't be placed like that because they are Mahabhagavats and eternal associates like that. They had different moods in their Gaur praying. Anyway, so then the whole pastime took place that now came the time for the kidnapping of Sita Devi. And then Ravan had his big plan, and he sent Marichi, one of his servants who had mystic powers, and he sent him there as a golden-colored deer. Golden-colored deer. And Sita Devi, because she's feminine, they're very attracted to such beautiful, beautiful animals and a golden deer. And she said, I want that deer. Bring that deer. And then Lord Ram, he said, no, that deer could be any illusion created by any demoniac person. No, it is not safe. No, I want. So finally, after her pestering Lord Ram, then he said, okay, Lakshman, you stay here and you guard. You guard so that nothing can happen. And then, what happened? Then Lord Ram went, and what did he do to the deer? Did he capture the deer to bring the deer back? No, what did he do to the deer? Why? Because he understood, he's a demon, in disguise as a deer. But what did the demon do? As the demon was calling out for Lakshman, Lakshman, in the voice of Lakshman. Huh?
Voice of Ram.
What?
The voice of Ram.
Yeah, in the voice of Ram. Yeah. So, and Sita Devi told Lakshman, your brother Ram, he's calling, he's in difficulty. And then Lakshman said, no, there's no possibility that he will be in difficulty. This is an illusion created by a demon in his voice. And then she even accused Lakshman. Oh, now I understand. You have your eye on me all this time and you want that your brother will die and then you will have me. My God, can you imagine Lakshman having to tolerate that? Anyway, Lakshman said, okay.
He never even looked at anything but the feet.
Yeah, the feet. Never looked above the feet at Sita Devi their whole life. You see? So, completely controlled. So then he told Sita, okay, I am drawing this circle with my bow around you. Stay inside the circle. And do not come to the edge of the circle for any reason whatsoever. Then you will be safe. Then what happened? Who came there? Dressed as what? A sage. Ravana. He came there. And Sita Devi always, because she's the daughter of king and she's a princess, and she's always attending to serving sages that come to her father's. So, oh sage, I want to serve you. And then Ravana, gradually he was talking to her and telling her so many things, positive things, that yes, I will receive your service. But as he was speaking, he was drawing her, kind of like hypnotizing her, and bringing her closer and closer. And then when she came not far from the edge, what happened? He grabbed her, pulled her out of the circle, and now he started flying up into the sky. Yes. And then, then this bird, who was also living from Satya Yuga practically, this bird chased after Ravana to protect Sita, but Ravana cut off the bird's wing, and the bird plummeted to the earth, and he took Sita away to Lanka. So in this way, actually, when Lord Ram returned, Sita was gone. And now Lord Ram was in such distress, we cannot even imagine how much separation he was feeling from Sita. And he was weeping and calling out, Sita, 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 where are you? Like this. And you know what other pastime connected with that? Who? Huh? Yes. The wife of Lord Shiva. The wife of Lord Shiva, the first wife, was named Sati. She was the daughter of who? Daksha. But one time she had some doubt, because she and Lord Shiva were watching this episode, and she was also hearing how Sita was taken away by Ravana. And then some doubt arose when she saw how Lord Ram was lamenting and crying, almost like a regular human husband of this world in separation. But she didn't tell Lord Shiva that she had this doubt. Then what happened? Then she wanted to test Lord Ram. And she appeared there in front of him in the form of Sita Devi. Completely identical to Sita Devi. But did Lord Ram pay any attention to her? No. He just turned away and kept on calling out, Sita, Sita. And then she tried again and again to come in front of him. But then he said, oh, my mother, why are you doing this? And then what happened was, now she understood. But she had also disobeyed Lord Shiva. She had disobeyed Lord Shiva. And she lied to Lord Shiva. She did not reveal to him that she had this doubt, and she wanted to test Lord Ram. So now what happened? Then after that, she came back to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva had already seen everything because he's omniscient. And after that, Lord Shiva would not treat her as his wife. He would treat her as what? Mother. Why? Why was he treating her as mother?
Because Sita addressed her as mother.
Ram addressed her as mother. So, and that's one reason why she left her body. That's why Sati became the example of a chaste wife who burns her body in the fire of her husband when he leaves his body in the cremation. Then she enters into that fire, and that's called the Sati rite. Of course, that's not legal in India anymore in this Kali Yuga. So Sita was taken away, and now comes the episode of meeting the monkey warriors. And who did Lord Ram meet first? Huh? Are you sure? Huh? Huh? Everybody's just guessing.
Sugriva sent him because he saw the two warriors, and Hanuman came in disguise to find out who.
Yes. So, Sugriva sent Hanuman to Lord Ram. Why?
He thought they might be spies from Bali.
Okay.
He was hiding from Bali.
And there's the whole story of Bali, the brother of Sugriva, and how Bali had kind of like kicked Sugriva out, and all of these things. So, without going into the detail of that, eventually Hanuman brought him there to Sugriva, and then Lord Ram saved the day by defeating his brother and killing him, you see. So, in this way, the pastimes continued, and now Lord Ram had the king, Sugriva. He had Sugriva as his, how do you say, like his assistant, to help him locate where Sita Devi was taken, and who took. They already understood why. I forgot to say, because Jatayu told when he was on the ground. Then Jatayu is the one that told that it is Ravana who has taken Sita Devi away. So now they know that they're searching for Ravana. Okay, but they didn't know exactly where, which direction, like this. And so the pastime comes where finally, after searching, then Hanuman is trying to locate. They're sent in different directions, right? And then Hanuman is sent in that direction of Lanka. And then what happened there? What happened there from Lanka, how did it happen that Hanuman jumped across? Because earlier in Hanuman's life, he had forgotten what? That he can fly. He's the son of who? Vayu, the wind god. But one time, he flew very close to the sun. And eventually, he forgot that he has that ability. But some sage also gave him a benediction, I forget which one, gave him a benediction that in his greatest time of need, then he would remember that. And so, when Hanuman came there, and he understood that actually Ravana had kidnapped, then Hanuman did what? Everyone knows. There are millions and millions of paintings and pictures of Lord Hanuman jumping through the air, right? So Hanuman jumped, and along the way they tried to stop him, etc. The demons tried to stop him, and finally Hanuman made it there to Lanka. And then what did he do by his mystic power? He made himself very tiny. And now he was sneaking around and searching where is Sita. And he came to this beautiful, beautiful forest grove, and there he saw. He had never seen Sita before, up to this point. But there he saw this beautiful, and he understood this is Sita. And Sita was sitting underneath a tree there. And then Hanuman came, and he went into the tree. And now he spoke. And there was a whole dialogue that he had with Sita Devi. And then Sita Devi had to be convinced that he wasn't just an agent of Ravana. And then he took, what was it, the ring? The ring of Lord Ram. And he dropped it to her. And when she saw that, now she understood. And so Hanuman told that he will bring Ram, and Ram will rescue her. Actually, Hanuman could have rescued her himself. He could have done that. But then the Ramayana story would not have unfolded. So, but then Hanuman, as he was moving along, then he became seen, and then he became captured and brought into the palace of Ravana. Yes? Yes? Yes. And then, in the palace, Ravana was threatening this monkey, and he was boasting how he is going to kill Ram and all of this. And then what happened? Vibhishan did what?
He said, no, he's a messenger. It goes against Kshatriya Dharma that a messenger could be killed.
Right. So therefore, what did they do? Instead of killing him, what did they do?
Set his tail on fire.
Set his fire on fire.
Tail on fire.
Yes, set his tail on fire. What did Hanuman do? Hanuman began jumping and his tail became longer also. And then he went and jumped all throughout Lanka, setting fire everywhere in the kingdom of Ravan. And after he had succeeded in burning most of the places, now he jumped back. And when he came back, then he told Lord Ram, I have found your Sita. And now Lord Ram came there with armies of monkeys. Who were all these monkeys? Were they ordinary human beings or ordinary monkeys? Huh? Who were they? Huh? They were the demigods who were told that they should also descend as monkeys. But why monkeys? What is the reason for monkeys? Why shouldn't they descend as human beings? Do you know why? All of you scholars of the Ramayana? Huh? Why? Because Ravana was cursed. He was cursed. Forget the name, but there was one, like a demigoddess, who Ravana saw. She was very, very beautiful, and he wanted to have her, but she was doing meditations and austerities and all, and then by force he tried to grab her, and he grabbed her hair, and immediately she cut off her hair. Then she cursed him, and how in the future you will be defeated. You think that you are very big and very, very great, that no human beings can defeat you. You're such a boastful person that you're greater than the human beings because you're a Rakshasa. Rakshasas have very powerful mystic powers. But in the future, you will be defeated by monkeys. So that's another reason. So in this way, now they came to the southern tip, down to the place where there's an island about 100 miles across. You have to pass through that channel, right? And on the other side is the island named what? Even today, it's now named Sri Lanka. But what did the British do? Like they did to all the other holy places in India. They renamed it Ceylon. But then, in recent times, then they changed that back to Lanka. So then there's the pastime of Lord Ram wanting to go across to rescue Sita. But how is he going to bring his armies of monkeys and everything across like that? So now there was a deity there at the very tip. That place is called Rameshwaram. And the deity is called what? Yes, Rameshwara. So the people began thinking that this deity is the Ishwara of Lord Ram. But that was not true. Then came another second opinion. That what? That both Ram and the deity are Ishwara. But then who came out from the deity? It's a deity of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva said, no, Lord Ram is my Ishwara. And then Lord Ram called for the demigod of the oceans, Varuna, to come. But the demigod didn't come out of fear. So what did Lord Ram do?
It's like in shooting down.
Lord Ram took his bow and arrow, and he called and he said, if you do not come, you will be immediately terminated. And then finally the deity of the ocean came there, and Lord Ram said, I want to cross over. So in this way, the pastime came where they built the bridge. Who built the bridge? All the monkeys. What did they build the bridge out of? Gigantic boulders. They could, especially Hanuman. Hanuman, he even could carry in the tips of mountains and fly through the sky. But all this, the army of monkeys were very strong also. And they were throwing the boulders and they were throwing the rocks. But there were two different monkeys. What is it? Yeah, Nala and Nila. And what were they doing with all the rocks before they were thrown? They were writing what on the rock?
Ram.
Ram, thousands and thousands and lakhs of times on every single rock. And when they threw the rock, what happened? It floated. Yes. Yes, Maharaj.
I've seen pictures, there's a temple in South India, and it has a rock, and outside of the water, it weighs like, I forget how many kilos, but it's in the water, and on the rock is inscribed the name Ram, and it floats. But they take it up out of the water, and it weighs like 2 or 3, 5 kilos, something I forget.
Yeah, I saw that.
Everyone goes there and worships him.
On the Facebook Shastra, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so in this way, now the army began proceeding across. The whole army going across, crossing this 100-mile length with all the monkey warriors and Lord Ram and Lakshman and Hanuman. And in this way, now, they crossed over to Lanka. Then what happened in Lanka? I got to read it from the Ramayana. From the Ramayana.
Drum roll.
What?
As he's taking pictures of that area of the sea, and you can see below the surface of the water, there's a bridge. It's under the water now, and it's impenetrable. They tried to penetrate it so that the ships don't have to go all the way around, but it's impenetrable. It's just below the surface. Still there.
Okay, so I'm going to read the section of this part 3. Part 3 means the war. It has 3 parts. First part is betrayed, the second part is exiled, and the third part is the war. Okay? Now there's a lot of things before that, because now in Lanka there's panic. And then there's the pastime we just told about Ram confronting the ocean. Then there's a whole description of Ravana's evil trickery. Then comes the war begins. Okay? Then comes Garuda to the rescue. Why Garuda to the rescue? Huh? What?
Rama and Lakshman were shot and by the snake.
Yes. Yes. And then what did Garuda do?
Hanuman went and got Garuda.
Right.
And when Garuda even approached the snake,
Okay. I would love to read these, but you would not love to wait that long. So then
Sorry, homework assignment.
Then comes Ravana enters the fray. Then comes the colossal demon. Who's that? Kumbhakarna. Gigantic Kumbhakarna. Then comes carnage. You know what carnage means? It means like slicing body parts. The whole battlefield, nothing but body parts. Carnage among the Rakshasas. Then Ram and Lakshman are laid low. Then Lakshman battles Indrajit, and that's where he became injured, and that's why Hanuman had to go and get the medicine. But he didn't know exactly which plant, so he brought the entire top of the mountain there. So then Ravana exhibits his prowess, and then the final battle, so I'm going to read from that place. 385. Yes. Now, the terrified. Bring me the lamp. The lamp. Bring me the lamp. I don't have enough light here. Let me just use my phone. I'll just use the light on my phone. It's okay. Okay, so now, the terrified. The terrified Rakshasas, they ran to Ravana and they informed him of Indrajit's fall. Then, having closed with a greater hero, your powerful son has met his end, they reported. The highly glorious Indrajit, after gratifying Lakshman with innumerable arrows, he has gone to the next world. So this is what they reported to Ravana. Ravana looked at his ministers for some moments in a state of utter dismay. And he then fell to the ground in a swoon and remained unconscious for some time, and when he recovered, he fell back onto his throne. And he sat with a downcast face, lamenting loudly, "Oh my son, where have you gone? You conquered Indra, and you chased away all the gods. How then have you been conquered and overpowered by Lakshman? And when angered, you were capable of terrorizing even death himself. Your arrows could smash down the peaks of mountains and even Mount Mandara. Time is truly all-powerful, for today you have been thrown down by that inconquerable force, even as you stood on the battlefield, weapons in hand." So Ravana was inconsolable at that point. He praised his dead son in many ways. Surely Indrajit had now reached the regions reserved for heroes. Now that he was dead, the gods, the rishis, and the guardians of the worlds would rejoice, their thorn being removed. So thinking of Mandodari, who's Mandodari? Yes, his wife. Then Ravana cried out in agony, "Your mother, the blessed queen, will surely lose her life today. Soon I will hear the cries of the Rakshasa women as they toss about on the ground. What perverse destiny has brought about your end before mine? Oh my dear Indrajit, how could you leave me here while Ram and Lakshman still live?" So now, seized by unbearable grief, the demon fell from his throne and rolled about on the golden floor of his palace. A violent anger then took possession of him, and he breathed heavily. Jumping to his feet, he knitted his brows and roared furiously. What is a knitted brow? He knitted his brow. And then he roared furiously. What did he roar? Everyone! Ah! Then flames blazed forth from his wide open mouths. He looked like time personified, about to consume all the worlds. The demon thought only of revenge. His eyes, red by nature, glowed brilliant red with anger. Tears fell from them like drops of molten metal. He ground his teeth, making a sound like two mountains being rubbed together. Taking up his long razor-edged sword, which shone like the bright blue sky, he held it aloft, and he thundered in fury. Pleasing the self-born creator of all the worlds, by rigorous austerities I receive from him an infallible boon. Not even the gods and demons combined can kill me in battle. What then of a couple of humans? Bring my bow, fetch my impenetrable armor. Today I shall march out and make short work of Ram and his entire army. Then, looking as if he might destroy the universe itself, Ravana glared all around him. His ministers shrank back in fear, uttering plaintive sounds. The demon king said to them, "My dear son played a hoax upon Ram by killing an illusory Sita. That hoax shall now become reality. I shall finish Sita, who is so dear to Ram." Now bent on his evil purpose, Ravana immediately rushed out of his palace toward the Ashok grove. That's where Sita was. Seeing the infuriated demon coming out of his palace with upraised sword, the other Rakshasas felt heartened, and surely now the war would soon be ended. Ravana had overcome the 4 guardians of the world. He would certainly have no problem with an army of monkeys and bears. The demon stormed toward his gardens, but as he moved swiftly along the pathways, his ministers ran up to him. They stood before him trying to dissuade him from his intention of killing Sita. Already a terrible carnage amongst the Rakshasas had been wrought simply due to her being kidnapped. What might happen if Ravana actually killed her? And Ravan would not be swayed. He strode into the garden. Sita saw him from a distance and began to tremble. Seeing his furious disposition and uplifted sword, she could understand that he intended to kill her. The princess wondered about her husband. Had he been slain? Why was Ravana so bold? If only she had gone with Hanuman. Why had she decided to stay in Lanka, tormented by this cruel Rakshasa? This was all the fault of the cruel Mantara. Soon that wicked maid would rejoice with her purpose fulfilled. If not already dead, then Ram would certainly not survive long when he heard of his beloved wife's death. Now as Ravana came close to Sita, a minister named Suparshva got before him saying, "How are you contemplating such a mean and pointless act? Oh, 10-headed monarch." How many heads did Ravana have?
10.
How many?
10.
Yes. "No good can ever come from killing a woman, for it is condemned by everyone. This lady should be protected. You should vent your wrath on Ram and Lakshman, your actual enemies. If you kill them, this princess will then be yours to enjoy." Ravana considered this advice. Perhaps Suparshva was right. It would be foolish to needlessly lose the princess now, after so much effort to retain her, and Ram might yet be overcome. There was no need to kill Sita now. Better to kill Ram, then she would surely submit to him. Now, overcome by anger and lust as well as a burning grief, the demon turned away from Sita and made his way to his council chamber. Surrounded by his ministers, he entered the great hall. Afflicted by agony, he sank onto his gem-encrusted throne, sat there snorting like a furious lion. With folded hands he addressed the assembly. "I now depend fully on all of you. The time to destroy our arrogant enemy has come. Tomorrow I shall march out to kill Ram. First of all, you should go out, weapons held high, and weaken the human prince and his army. I shall soon follow you." Then the Rakshasas roared in joy. They rose up in a body and rushed out to the hall. Mounting horses, chariots, elephants, other carriers, they stormed out of the city. They immediately hurled a massive shower of axes, maces, spears, darts, iron clubs upon the monkeys, who replied with trees and rocks. The 2 armies again fell upon one another with a tremendous clamor. Ram decided it was time. He demonstrated his own insurmountable prowess. He immediately penetrated deep into the ranks of the Rakshasas. He moved like a whirlwind, leaving a trail of slaughtered demons in his wake. The Rakshasas could hardly look at him. No one could see his movements as he took out arrows from his inexhaustible quiver, sent them in all directions. And by releasing the weapon of the Gandharvas, Ram made himself appear in a multitude of forms. To the confused Rakshasas, he seemed to be everywhere at once. They saw the curved golden ends of his bow whirling like a firebrand, seeming to completely surround them. His arrows flew from all directions simultaneously. They sliced the Rakshasas to pieces. In less than 2 hours, Ram had exterminated 200,000 Rakshasas. How many?
200,000.
Along with 18,000 elephants. How many?
18,000.
Of what?
Elephants.
And how many horses? You don't know. 14,000 what?
Horses.
So the Rakshasas were completely routed, and they fled in panic. Their chariots lay smashed. Their armor and weapons littered the ground. With mangled corpses of Rakshasas and animals lying everywhere, the battlefield appeared ghastly. The surviving Rakshasas rushed back to Lanka, looking back in fear of Ram. The monkeys cheered, and they surrounded Ram. Having withdrawn his divine weapons, he stood at ease, blazing with splendor. Lord Ram Chandra Bhagavan ki
Jai!
Sugriva, Hanuman, Vibhishan, they looked in awe at Ram, who said to them, "Only the glorious Shiva and I can exhibit such abilities with the celestial missiles." And as the monkeys walked around Ram with folded palms, the gods and rishis praised him from the skies, and a shower of flowers dropped down. Now Ravana sat sighing. Doing what was he sighing? He was sighing in his palace. All around him he could hear the woeful laments of the Rakshasa women who had lost their husbands and sons. He was at his wit's end. How has all this happened? What kind of humans were Ram and Lakshman? This was unimaginable. There were only a few powerful heroes left in the Rakshasa army. Even the gods could not have reduced him to such a plight. What then of an army of monkeys and bears led by a human? See, that's another reason why Lord Ram played this pastime. Because Ravana thought that he was so far superior to humans. So Ram, he came as a human being in this world. So Ravana bit his lips. He clenched his fists. His eyes were crimson, and he snorted loudly. What did he do loudly? Snorted. Like a losing gambler impelled to stake his all, the demon summoned the last of his commanders and ordered them to again march out for battle, and this time he would be accompanying them. Reluctantly, the Rakshasas accepted Ravana's command. They were stricken with terror as they thought of Ram. Now, seeing his commanders trembling in fear, Ravana laughed. He began to speak. With an endless shower of arrows resembling the rays of the sun, I shall dispatch Ram and Lakshman to Yamaraja's abode. Today I shall avenge my kinsmen and followers. I will wipe out the monkey battalions with waves of weapons surging like a violent ocean. Heads transfixed on arrows will appear on the battlefield like so many lotuses upon golden stalks. Each of my arrows will pierce 100 monkeys. The vultures and the jackals will be fully sated with the flesh of my enemies today. Fetch my chariot and weapons. I shall immediately march at the head of my army. Each of his arrows would pierce how many monkeys? 100 monkeys per arrow. It's a lot of monkeys. Ravana stood bellowing out his war cry. The demons felt heartened that their king was coming out to fight. That lordly Rakshasa had never been defeated in battle. Surely this spelled the end of Ram, Lakshman, and all the monkeys. Quickly, Ravana's charioteer brought his golden war chariot. It was equipped with all the divine weapons, adorned with celestial gems. Around its sides were thousands of bright golden pinnacles. Rows of bejeweled pillars held its great canopy, and a standard of cat's eyes rose from its center like a massive palm tree. As it moved off, it thundered like a number of clouds, and it produced a beautiful ringing sound from thousands of small golden bells hanging around its sides. Pretty good chariot, huh? The Rakshasas were struck with wonder to see Ravana mounted on the chariot, which shone like the sun. The charioteer urged on the 8 celestial steeds, and the chariot sped along Lanka's central highway. Right behind him came the last of his generals, Mahaparshva, Virupaksha, and Sarantaka. Following them were the remainder of the Rakshasa forces, 300,000 elephants, 100,000 chariots, 600,000 horsemen, and the same number of infantry. Ravana led his force through Lanka's northern gate, and they rushed towards Ram's army, sending up loud shouts. Even as Ravana charged, the sun became dim, and the 4 quarters were enveloped in gloom. Birds shrieked hideously, earth shook, clouds rained blood, a meteor fell from the sky with a crash. Ravana felt his left eye twitching, and his face became pale. A large vulture perched upon his standard, and crows circled above him. Not minding these fearful omens, Ravana careered madly toward the massed ranks of the monkey army. He plunged into them, immediately creating havoc. With arrows decked with gold, he severed the heads of thousands of monkeys. Others were pierced in the heart, and still others had their limbs lopped off. Some were crushed by his chariot, and some smashed by his mace. And wherever his chariot moved, the monkeys could not stand and face him. An irresistible hail of arrows flew in all directions from Ravana's chariot. He was as hard to approach as the scorching sun. Soon the battlefield was strewn with the corpses of slain monkeys. As Ravana plowed into the Vanara forces that fled, tortured by his weapons, the demon king dispersed the simian ranks like the wind-dissipating clouds. Having cut through the monkeys, Ravana searched for Ram. Sugriva became maddened upon seeing the destruction of his army, and he threw himself into the battle and began annihilating the Rakshasas on all sides. Roaring at a high pitch, the Vanara king rushed at the Rakshasas, whirling a massive tree. He killed them even as the wind of destruction would knock down trees at the end of an age. Sugriva hurled upon the Rakshasas a formidable number of huge rocks in rapid succession, like a shower of hailstones falling upon a flock of birds. The Rakshasas fell by the hundreds, their heads smashed. They appeared like so many crumbling mountains hit by thunderbolts. Now Virupaksha, one of the generals, leapt down from his chariot and challenged Sugriva. He shot 100 fierce arrows at the monkey. The Rakshasa then mounted upon a great elephant, and he roared. Sugriva turned toward the demon and seized hold of a huge tree. He bounded into the air, brought the tree down upon the elephant's head. The colossal beast staggered backwards, sank to its knees. Virupaksha leapt down, took out his sword. He rushed at Sugriva, who hurled a heavy crag at the demon. Dodging the rock, Virupaksha bounded forward and struck Sugriva a terrible blow with his sword. And the monkey flew back, fell to the ground, breathing heavily. Now coming back to his senses, after some moments, Sugriva sprang up and aimed a blow at the Rakshasa with his fist. Virupaksha avoided the blow and again struck the monkey on the chest. Sugriva, blazing with anger, swung his hand with the speed of the wind. He struck the Rakshasa on his temple with the force of Indra's thunderbolt. Then Virupaksha dropped on the ground with blood streaming from his mouth, nose, eyes, and ears. He tossed about, bellowing in pain. Losing consciousness, the Rakshasa gave up his life. Who gave up his life? Virupaksha. To who? Sugriva. Sugriva ki! Now headed by Rama and Lakshman, the chief monkeys fought in a frenzy. Sugriva, Angada, Hanuman, other principal Vanaras cut down the Rakshasa forces like a field of ripe wheat. The demon king Ravana agonized at seeing his army overwhelmed. Then he turned to Mahaparshva, another general, and he said, "O heroic one, my hopes now rest with you. Repay your debt to your master and destroy this hostile army of monkeys. Do not delay." The Rakshasa folded his palms, bowed slightly to Ravana. Raising his mighty bow, he rushed into the Vanara forces like a moth entering a flame. Endowed with extraordinary strength, he carved a path through the monkeys with his blazing arrows. With deadly accuracy, he severed the arms, legs, heads of the monkeys, sending up his fearful war cry. Struck hard and reeling from Mahaparshva's attack, the monkey ran to Sugriva for protection. The monkey king rushed at the Rakshasa and hurled a tremendous crag straight at his chariot. Mahaparshva saw the rock flying at him and, unperturbed, released swift arrows and broke it to pieces. Shattered into thousands of fragments by a stream of arrows, the rock descended to the ground like a flock of vultures. Sugriva immediately tore up a tree, threw it at the demon with all his strength. Again, Mahaparshva fired arrows which sliced the tree into pieces. Sugriva then picked up an iron bludgeon that lay on the ground nearby. He leapt forward and killed the team of horses yoked to the demon's chariot. The Rakshasa jumped down, clutching his dreadful mace. He hurled the spiked mace at Sugriva, and the monkey struck it with his bludgeon. With a great explosion, the two weapons shattered and fell to the ground. The two heroes fell upon each other and wrestled for some time. They struck each other with their fists, knees, and heads, roaring and rolling about on the ground. Sugriva lifted the Rakshasa, threw him to a distance. Getting up at once, Mahaparshva took hold of a sword and shield and rushed at Sugriva. The monkey quickly looked around and found another sword. With upraised weapons, the two powerful combatants met together, shouting in joy. Shouting in what?
Joy.
They're very joyful. A fierce sword fight ensued, creating a shower of sparks as the weapons clashed together. Suddenly Mahaparshva brought down his sword with full force onto Sugriva's shoulder. It embedded itself into the monkey's armor. As the Rakshasa tried to extract it, Sugriva quickly swung his own weapon in a short arc and severed the demon's head from his soldier. Jai! As the gods and siddhas looked up, the Rakshasas fell lifeless to the ground. His head rolled away with its teeth clenched and its golden earrings glittering. Sugriva stood with his blood-soaked sword looking like a dark cloud graced by a bright sunbeam. The monkeys, overjoyed, cheered their leader and thronged around him. The Rakshasas fled toward Ravana, howling in fear. In the meantime, the other powerful Rakshasas' commander. One last one. There were three. This one is Surantaka. He had been slain in a duel. Oh, he's already gone. He's already slain by Angada. Now Ravana alone remained among the great Rakshasa heroes. He was consumed by rage. Looking around at his devastated army, he saw Rama and Lakshman fighting in the distance. The demon ordered his charioteer to go toward the princes. As his chariot moved across the earth, it gave off a sound like the rumbling of 1,000 thundering clouds. The ground shook, and the monkeys fled, simply from hearing the terrifying sound. The demon king took out a brilliant arrow and placed it on his bow. Who placed the arrow on his bow? Who? Ravana. He then invoked a missile presided over by Rahu, a malevolent and powerful enemy of the gods. Ravana released the fearful weapon, which then annihilated the monkeys by the hundreds of thousands. Blazing steel shafts sped in all directions, dispersing Ram's army as the sun disperses a morning mist. None dared face the Rakshasa king as he rushed towards Ram. Seeing the demon approach like an onrushing comet, Lakshman sped innumerable arrows toward him. Those arrows could hardly be seen as they screamed through the air, but the demon displayed astonishing dexterity and cut them all down. Ravana went straight past Lakshman and approached Ram. He loosed a shower of arrows on Ram, which were like venomous serpents with flaming heads. Ram stood on the battlefield like an immovable mountain. He immediately countered Ravana's arrows with crescent-headed shafts that cut them to pieces. Ravana continued to send volleys of arrows at Ram, and the prince replied with equal numbers of his own. The sky was filled with arrows resembling flocks of golden birds. Ram and the demon circled each other from left to right, each fixing his gaze on the other. They appeared like death personified and Yamaraj himself meeting for a violent encounter. They completely covered the sky with their arrows and caused a shadow to envelop the battlefield. Both kept their bows bent to a full circle. Both moved with great speed, keeping their weapons trained on the other. Ram's blazing golden armor deflected Ravana's shafts, while the demon's impenetrable mail rendered Ram's arrows ineffective. And seeing his arrows falling uselessly to the ground, Ravana sent 12 fierce shafts which pierced Ram's brow. With those golden arrows protruding from his head and producing profuse blood, Ram appeared to be wearing a shining crown decorated with a red garland. Impervious to the pain, Ram invoked the Rudrashta, presided over by Shiva, sent a fearful hail of flaming arrows at the demon. They struck Ravana on every part of his body, seeking out his vulnerable points. But the demon's celestial army again repelled the shafts, and they entered the earth, hissing like furious snakes. Ravana then invoked the fearful Rakshasa weapon, imbuing it with his own enormous personal power, and as he released it, all kinds of strange missiles sped toward Ram. Some had the heads of terrible lions with wide open mouths. Others had the heads of wolves, jackals, donkeys, boars, dogs, alligators, venomous serpents. Ravan's mystic weapon produced a frightening and discordant sound. It assailed Ram from every side, and unshaken, Ram moved with great agility and dodged the shafts as they fell. He dropped to one knee, took out a blazing golden arrow. Fitting it to his bow, he invoked the Agneyastra. With that weapon, he produced arrows of every description. Some resembled the radiant sun, others the moon. Others appeared like blazing meteors. Some flew like flashes of lightning. Some were flaming crescents. Others rose into the sky like shining planets, descending to the earth like brilliant constellations fallen from heaven. Those divine arrows struck down all of Ravana's missiles, which were killing the monkeys all over the battlefield. Jai Ram Chandra Bhagavan Ki! So Ravana blazed up in anger, and as he saw his wonderful weapons neutralized, he took out another dreadful missile, which had been fashioned by Maya, the architect of the celestial demons known as Asuras. Ravan charged the weapon with the potency of Rudra, fired it into the sky. At once there dropped from all sides innumerable flaming pikes, maces, along with massive iron clubs, mystical nooses. Thunderbolts fell upon the monkey army, accompanied by a piercing gale, like the wind which blows at the end of an age. That demoniac weapon began to annihilate the monkeys. A vast number of blazing missiles directed them at Ram, who responded by invoking the Gandharva weapon. Immediately, countless arrows swept like a sheet across the entire battlefield. Without striking any of the monkeys, the arrows struck and disabled Ravana's missiles. All of them were cut to pieces. They fell to the earth. Without a second's delay, Ravana employed the Surya Astra. It brought into being a stream of large, brilliant discuses, which flew from Ravana's bow. As they rose into view, they lit up all directions as if 100 suns had risen on the battlefield. Ram stood firm. He passed every one of the discuses with his own shafts. He pierced every one of the discuses with his own shafts, charging them with a force equal to that of Ravana's weapon. They split apart the flaming missiles. They rendered them harmless as soon as they left Ravana's bow. As Ram countered his missile, Ravana sent 10 barbed arrows, which pierced the prince all over his body. Enraged, Ram instantly responded with 100 of his own arrows, which thudded deeply into Ravana's limbs. Ramchandra Bhagavan Ki Jai. Lakshman then came forward and challenged the demon. Raising his bow, he sped a number of shafts at Ravana that cut to pieces the demon's standard, which bore the emblems of a man's head. With a single crescent-headed arrow, Lakshman severed the head of Ravana's charioteer. Then 5 more well-aimed arrows. He broke apart the Rakshasa's gleaming bow. At the same time, Vibhishan leapt forward, struck down with his mace the demon's steeds, which were as tall as hills. Who's Vibhishan? The brother of Ravana. He's also there. And now he struck down all the demon steeds, which were as tall as hills. Ravana quickly leapt from his chariot and gazed at his younger brother with flaming eyes. He hurled a blazing lance at Vibhishan, which looked like a thunderbolt. But as it flew toward Vibhishan, Lakshman cut it to pieces with 3 razor-headed arrows. That golden lance, which would be decked with jewels, fell to the earth like a shower of meteors. Ravan took up another lance, even more terrible than the first. It shone with a lurid glow. It emitted bright blue tongues of fire. Ravana raised his lance and fixed his gaze on Vibhishan. Lakshman saw his friend in danger, covered the demon king with countless shafts. Ravana was stunned by the ferocity of Lakshman's arrows, and he turned to face the prince. He shouted out in anger, "You have saved Vibhishan, but now you are yourself in grave danger. O proud one, stand ready. This lance, made by Maya Danava for the destruction of the gods, will pierce your heart, leaving your body only after taking your life." Ravana leveled his infallible lance at Lakshman. It was adorned with 8 golden bells. It gave off a loud chiming as the demon pulled it back. With his bludgeon-like arm, Ravana hurled the lance with full force. It sped through the air, cracking like thunder, and spread a shower of brilliant sparks in its wake. Seeing it approach, Lakshman uttered an imprecation. May you prove ineffectual. May your attempt to take my life fail. May all be well with Lakshman. As the prince spoke, the lance struck him full on the chest. Grievously hurt by the weapon, Lakshman collapsed unconscious to the ground. Ravana was seized with sorrow to see his brother reduced to that state. His eyes filled with tears, and his mouth became parched and dry. As furious as the all-devouring fire of universal destruction, he glared at the demon. Now comes the final battle. Ram ran over to his brother. The lance had pierced his armor and struck into his body. Ram carefully extracted the lance, snapped it in 2. He gently lifted Lakshman and embraced him. As he held the grievously wounded prince, Ravana shot serpent-like arrows at him. Without caring for the arrows, Ram called to Hanuman and Sugriv, "Guard this prince carefully. The time has come for me to manifest my strength. I shall make short work of this 10-headed monster. Here is my unfailing promise." Are you ready for Ram's unfailing promise? What did he say? "The world will soon be devoid of either Ravana or myself. Let the 3 worlds witness my power today in battle. I shall achieve a feat which will be spoken of by all beings for as long as the world exists." Ram stood up and immediately released an endless stream of ferocious shafts at Ravana. Greatly harassed, the demon replied with a shower of flaming steel arrows and iron clubs. Ram countered Ravana's missiles as they sped through the air, striking each and every one of them down. He fought wildly, sending screaming arrows that struck Ravana on every part of his body. The demon fell back as Ram closed on him. He was entirely covered by Ram's golden plume shafts. Ravana could hardly do anything in response as Ram unleashed his fury. Completely overwhelmed, the Rakshasa turned and took to his heels. So as Ravana retreated in fear, Ram went back to Lakshman. He dropped down by his side and cradled the prince's head in his hands. Lakshman seemed dead. The wound in his chest looked terrible. Lakshman did not appear to be breathing. Choked by tears, Ram spoke aloud, giving vent to his grief. "Oh, how painful it is to see my beloved brother in such a state. My strength is deserting me as I look upon him lying here. Even if I win this fight, I will feel no joy at all without Lakshman. Indeed, this prince has followed me through thick and thin. If he has now departed for the regions of death, then I too shall follow him." Ram lamented loudly for some time. What would he say to Sumitra if he returned without Lakshman? How could he face Bharat and Shatrughna? Surely they would censure him for failing to protect his younger brother. It would be better to give up his own life than hear the reproaches of those most dear to him. Ram fell weeping to the ground. Then Hanuman raised him up and comforted him. He called for Sushain, the Vanara physician. Perhaps Lakshman would respond to his treatment of celestial herbs. Sushain approached the fallen prince and examined him carefully. He looked up at Ram and he said, "Your brother still lives. See how his bodily luster has not departed, and I can detect the movement of his life air and the beat of his heart, but he needs urgent treatment." Sushain asked for more of the celestial herbs which Hanuman had fetched from the Himalayas. The herbs were brought quickly. Sushain administered them to Lakshman, but by the divine power of the herb Sanjeevakarani, the prince slowly returned to consciousness. Then Sushain carefully administered the herbs Vishalyakarani and Sandhani, which together healed Lakshman's grievous wound and repaired his bones. Slowly he sat up and looked around. Ram was overjoyed. He pressed Lakshman to his bosom with tears in his eyes, and he said, "By good fortune you have been saved from the jaws of death. If you had died, I would not have been able to carry on this fight." So now, Lakshman, pained to hear his brother speak in that way, he replied, "You have taken a solemn vow to kill Ravana and install Vibhishan on the throne of Lanka. You should not make that false for any reason. O great hero, fulfill your vow at once. Let us see the evil Ravana lying dead on the battlefield, cut down by your arrows." Then Ram seized his bow, and a terrible anger took hold of him. Lakshman had spoken well. The time for the arrogant demon's destruction had arrived. As Ram looked around, he saw Ravana seated aboard his golden chariot. Having rested, the demon was again rushing at Ram as the malefic planet Rahu rushes toward the sun. And from where he stood, Ram immediately shot a steady stream of arrows that shone like fire. They rained down upon the demon, who in turn loosed off torrents of shafts that hissed like serpents as they flew at Ram. From the sky, the gods observed the combat. Seeing Ram standing upon the ground, Indra desired to assist him. He summoned Matali, his charioteer, and asked him to fetch his chariot. In a moment, Indra's radiant chariot appeared. Drawn by its 1,000 steeds, Indra ordered Matali to take it to Ram, and the chariot at once descended onto the battlefield next to the prince. And with folded palms he respectfully addressed Ram, "Here is my lord Indra's chariot, O Raghava. Here also is his mighty bow and other infallible weapons, as well as his invincible golden armor. Please use all these to attain victory over Ravan, the enemy of the gods. I shall act as your charioteer." Ram gazed with amazement at the wonderful vehicle. It was bedecked with glowing gems and wreaths of celestial flowers. A tall pole of cat's eye stood in its center, bearing a brilliant golden standard. The chariot was suspended a bow length above the ground, and a crystal staircase came down to Ram's feet. He circumambulated the chariot and then climbed aboard. The prince quickly donned Indra's armor and stood and took up his bow and celestial arrows. As he stood upon that divine chariot, he looked like the sun illumining all the quarters. As at Matali's command, the heavenly steeds surged forward. The chariot moved off with a rumbling sound that filled the earth and sky. Ravana, realizing that Ram was being assisted by his mortal enemy Indra, he became even more enraged. He fired a celestial missile which unleashed hundreds of thousands of dreadful-looking serpents, their wide-open mouths vomiting fire. Writhing and hissing, they came from all sides, and they sped towards Ram. As the venomous snakes descended upon him, Ram at once invoked a weapon presided over by Garuda. A shower of arrows shot from his bow, turning as they flew into golden eagles with fierce talons and sharply curved beaks. The mystical eagles intercepted and destroyed all of Ravana's serpents. The demon roared furiously. He struck Matali and all of his steeds with a forceful torrent of shafts with glowing steel heads. The Rakshasa then sent a crescent-headed arrow, which bore down the chariot's golden standard. He followed this with countless other straight-flying arrows that struck Ram on every part of his body. In seconds, Indra's great chariot was completely covered by Ravana's arrows, so that no part of it was visible. With his 10 heads and his massive bow, Ravana stood in his chariot looking like the Mainaka mountain risen from the ocean. Observing the demon overwhelming Ram with his arrows, the gods and rishis felt despondent. The monkeys became fearful. They observed grim-looking omens. The sun became dim, sea tossed with waves that seemed to rise up to the sky. Jackals howled and ghosts and wraiths darted about on the battlefield. So intense was Ravana's assault that Ram was unable to lift his bow and fit his arrows. Ram's eyes turned crimson with rage. He began to think of the destruction of the entire Rakshasa race. With great expertise, Matali drove the chariot upwards and away from the hail of Ravana's arrows. It burst forth like the sun emerging from a cloud. The gods showered flowers on Ram, while the Daityas and the Danavas uttered benediction upon Ravana. And when the king of the Rakshasas saw his adversary again stationed before him, he took up a fearful-looking dart. That terrific weapon had spikes resembling mountain peaks. It had a flaming point which glowed with a brilliance that could not be looked upon. That dart was dear to Ravana and had been carefully kept and worshipped by him, reserved for a time when he faced a deadly enemy. It was irresistible to gods and demons alike. Ravana raised it with his serpent-like arm. He roared with full force. The earth shook, the mountains trembled, sending their lions and elephants fleeing in fear. Looking at Ram, the Rakshasa thundered, "This dart, powerful like a thunderbolt, will now take your life. Hurled by me, it will strike both you and your brother, leveling you with all the Rakshasas you have slain. Guard yourself if you can." The demon at once threw the dart. It flashed through the sky, covered by a circle of lightning and emitting a deafening scream. Ram instantly sent 100 arrows at the dart, but they were deflected, and they fell useless to the ground. Without losing a moment, Ram took up Indra's celestial javelin. He forcefully hurled it, and it flew like a blazing meteor straight at the dart. And struck by the divine lance, Ravana's weapon was split apart, dropped to the earth, the javelin giving off a delightful sound from the many bells tied around it, returned again to Indra's chariot. So, there's a lot more drama. That's the wonder of this Ramayana. This Ramayana, 1/3 of the book is about war, right? So there's so much drama in the Ramayana. That's why it's captivated everyone's heart since time immemorial, right? And this is even just a summary of the Ramayana for the English version of it. But I'm going to try to get to the end of this. So there's many other arrows and weapons and all of that, leading up to what? Ram and Ravana fought vehemently for hours without interruption, exchanging blow for blow. That's what you're not going to hear right now, all the different blows. Neither felt weary, nor inclined to give an inch to the other. Those observing the fight felt their hair standing on end. No one could take their eyes off the furious fighter as they battled on, relentlessly seeking victory. Ravan sent 20, then 60, then 100, and then 1,000 arrows at Ram, aiming at his vital parts, or seeking to kill the charioteer and his horses. Ram responded with twice that number, digging shafts into Ravana's steeds and chariots, while at the same time constantly covering the demon. Even after fighting for half a day, neither seemed to have the upper hand. Ravana then composed himself and once again invoked the Rakshasa Astra, imbuing it with all his mystic potencies. Immediately the air was filled with a thick shower of every kind of weapon. The entire globe seemed to shake. The ocean became agitated. Serpents and devils appeared screaming in the sky and emitting fire from their mouths. The sun lost its brilliance. The wind ceased to blow. In the heavens, the gods themselves became fearful, and they cried out, "May all be well with the worlds!" And with full concentration, Ram again invoked the Gandharva Astra, which caused hundreds of thousands of arrows to appear and counter Ravan's weapons. Those awful demoniac missiles fell to the ground and burnt up, being pierced by Ram's fiery shafts. The battle between Ram and Ravana could only be compared to itself. Such a fight had never been seen at any time, even by the gods. They watched anxiously as Ram came under repeated ferocious attacks from the Lord of the Rakshasas. Ram remained calm. He took from his bow a great razor-headed arrow that resembled a venomous serpent. In an instant he fitted and fired the arrow at Ravana. That arrow, imbued with mystic power, divided into 10 and tore off the demons' heads. Ramchandra Bhagavan ki! But they immediately grew again. What? What? Ram sent another weapon, which again severed the Rakshasas' heads, and again they grew back. Wow, what is going to happen now? Ram struck down 100 heads, but the demon remained standing without slowing his attack. For even a moment, Ram contemplated this wonderful phenomena. How was this demon to be killed? No weapon seemed able to take his life. It looked like the fight might go on forever. So Vibhishan quickly approached Ram. Vibhishan is who? Ram's what?
Younger brother.
Yes. He quickly approached Ram and he told him that the demon had a boon from who? Brahma. That his heads and arms could never be destroyed. And in Ravana's heart was a store of celestial nectar which renewed the life of his body. The only way to kill him was to strike at his heart with a divine weapon that could dry up the nectar. Got that? Yeah. I forgot this since last year when I read it. The nectar in the heart of Ravana. So now, as Ram considered his next move, all the while raining arrows upon Ravana, Matali turned to Ram and spoke and said, "O Ram, the time for this one's death has come. Recall now the prayer of Agastya told to you. Agastya also gave you an arrow when you were in the forest. Imbue that arrow with the force of the Brahmastra and kill the demon by piercing his heart." So accepting Matali's advice, Ram remembered the celestial arrow which Agastya had given him long ago in the forest, and at once it appeared in his hand. The arrow just suddenly appeared in his hand, and he fitted it to his bow. Its shaft was made of ether, and its weight consisted of the Mandara, the Meru mountains. Oh, one thing. Agastya Muni. When did he give that?
When Ram went to the forest, one of the places he went, because Agastya Muni was the one that sent him to Panchavati, the last place Ram was in the temple, like the last year. So at that time, Agastya Muni gave him the bow of Vishnu and the arrow.
Gotcha. Okay. So, at once the arrow appeared in his hand, and he fitted it to his bow. Its shaft was made of ether, and its weight consisted of the Mandara and the Meru mountains. The wind god presided over its shaft, the fire god over its plumes. Sun god was installed at its point. It looked like the rod of universal destruction wielded by the time spirit himself. Ram again chanted the Aditya Hridaya prayer, and then he invoked the infallible Brahmastra. As Ram drew back the arrows, he shone so brilliantly that no one could look at him. He released the weapon and it flew at Ravana, lighting up the earth and sky, roaring like a tumultuous ocean. It struck the demon on his chest, even as he stood firing his own weapons at Ram. Piercing right through his heart, the arrow emerged from Ravana's body, soaked in blood, and entered the earth. Ravana whirled around. He let out a cry which seemed to shake the entire creation. His bow dropped from his hands. He fell from his chariot like a mountain struck down by Indra's thunderbolt. The Rakshasas fled, panic-stricken in every direction. They shed tears of grief on seeing their lord slain. The monkeys leapt about, chasing the fleeing Rakshasas, shouting with joy. The sound of drums and other celestial instruments sounded from the sky. Delightful breezes blew on the battlefield, carrying heavenly odors. A dazzling shower of brilliant flowers fell from the sky and covered Ram's chariot. The gods and rishis praised Ram, who stood blazing with splendor. The battle was over. Ram climbed down from the chariot. He was surrounded by Lakshman, Sugriv, Hanuman, Angada, Jambavan, and Vibhishan, who all praised and cheered him for his incredible feat. As he gazed upon his brother's dead body, Vibhishan then began to lament. Alas, O Ravan, how have you been killed? After displaying your power for a long time, you now lie motionless, with your brilliant diadem thrown off. The very fate which I predicted has to come to pass. Why did you not heed my counsel? That was meant always for your good. Overcome by lust, greed, and anger, you have met the sure result of harboring these three mortal enemies of the soul. O my brother, now that you have been slain, everything seems void. The sun has fallen to earth. The moon has merged in darkness. Fire does not emit flames, and all energy has become bereft of effort. All of Lanka is lost. So although shunned by Ravana, Vibhishan had loved his brother and had always desired his welfare. He fell by his side and continued to cry out. Ram approached him and placed an arm around him, consoling him with soft words. Ram said to him, "Your brother has died a hero's death. No hero has ever been known to be always victorious. Sooner or later a warrior will die at the edge of weapons. This is the end sought by all great fighters. O Vibhishan, there is no need to mourn for Ravana, for his death was glorious." Then Lakshman also consoled the grief-stricken Vibhishan by telling him spiritual truths. Although Ravana's body had fallen, his soul remained alive. Indeed, having been purified by Ram's weapons and by his death in battle, he would surely have attained an exalted destination. There was no gain in lamenting over a corpse. Once the soul has departed, Vibhishan should now perform the last rites for his brother, then assume the rulership of Lanka. As Lakshman finished speaking with Vibhishan, Ravan's wives suddenly appeared on the battlefield, crying like female elephants. They fell upon their husband's body and bathed him with tears. Dozens of Rakshashis, their hair and garments in disarray, surrounded the fallen Rakshasa. They rolled on the ground, they wailed in agony. Ravana's principal wife, Mandodari, was at their head. She swooned upon seeing her husband dead on the battlefield, and after regaining her senses, she gazed upon his face and lamented loudly, her voice choked with tears. "Alas, my lord, how have you fallen at the hands of a man? You who struck terror into the hearts of the gods, Gandharvas, Siddhas, even great rishis, now lie killed by a mere mortal who came walking from Ayodhya, a city of humans. I do not consider Ram to be an ordinary man. He must surely be Vishnu, the sustainer of all the worlds, the unborn, inconceivable, and all-powerful Supreme Person. None other could have laid you low. O Ravana, although you conquered your senses, winning great boons from your austerities, in the end you have been conquered by those senses. You have fallen prey to lust, You desired to enjoy the sinless Sita. By stealing away that godly lady, the very emblem of chastity and nobility, you brought destruction upon yourself and all of your kinsfolk. Mandodari could not contain her grief. She slumped over Ravana's body and continued to wail in piteous tones. And she said, "O hero, where have you gone now, leaving me forlorn? When I was always your devoted servant, why did you long for Sita? Alas, my life is useless, as I could not satisfy my Lord. Although we roamed and sported together in every delightful region of heaven, I am now fallen into a fearful ocean of grief. Woe be to the fleeting fortune of kings." Then Mandodari looked up with tear-filled eyes, saw Ravan's brother nearby. "Here stands the pious Vibhishan," she cried. "Having ignored his wise advice, you now lie slain. Surely a sinner always reaps the results of sins in the end, just as the virtuous also receive their results. Your brother will now enjoy royal fortune while you are sent to the next world." So, this is all now telling how Vibhishan and this whole scene. But I'm just jumping ahead. And what time is it now?
20 to 2.
20 to 2. Okay. We'll try to do this in just 10-15 minutes. Is that okay? You want to hear when Ram came to Sita? You want to hear that? No, there's different voices. No, there's a voice here and everyone that is talking much louder. So I'm just going to go to the end. What? What, is there a deity of Lord Rama? But that's Lord Chaitanya. Isn't that Lord Rama?
He's beyond God.
What?
He is all.
Okay, so as you know, Sita was there in the forest, and finally Ram came. And can you imagine, after 1 year of ordeal, and now Ram has come to rescue her. But what was Ram's mood? What was his mood towards Sita? Detachment. He said that you have lived for 1 full year in the custody of this demon. So now you have become impure by that. The only way that I will be able to take you is if you can prove that you are completely pure. So, what happened then? Well, I'll just read this. This is the last words Ram told before Sita spoke. Ram actually stopped speaking before what he was saying, and his heart was balking at what he had to say next. Then, steadying his mind, he continued to address the tremulous Sita. He said, "Now that I have wiped off the stain of insult on my noble house, and I have established my truthfulness and resolve, no further purpose remains for me in this matter. O gentle lady, I have not undergone this endeavor out of a desire to again have you as my wife." Can you imagine? He's telling her. That's not the reason. "You have long dwelt in the house of another. How then can I take you back into my house? Your good character has become suspect. Ravana clasped you in his arms and looked upon you with a lustful eye. Therefore my attachment for you has ended. Please go wherever you desire. Perhaps You may now find shelter with Lakshman or Bharat or Shatrughna or even Vibhishan. As beautiful as you are, O Sita, how could Ravana have left you alone? Why do you address me with such unkind words, O hero? Like a common man addressing some vulgar woman. You are judging all women by the standards of a degraded few. Give up your doubts in me, for I am without blame. When Ravana snatched me, I was helpless and dragged against my will. Although I could not control my limbs, my heart remained under my control, did not deviate from you even slightly. If, in spite of our living together in love for so long, you still do not trust me, then I am surely undone for good. Angry, Sita admonished and taunted Ram. Why had he gone to such great endeavors? He could have sent a message with Hanuman telling her that he was rejecting her. Then she would have immediately given up her life and saved him all the effort of war. It seemed he had given way to anger alone, just like an ordinary man, like a mean man. He had not considered her devotion and chastity toward him. He had forgotten her divine origins and had taken her to be an ordinary woman. Sita, still weeping, turned to Lakshman. O Prince, please raise me for a pyre. Means funeral pyre, the flame. This is my only recourse now. I no longer desire to live, being smitten with false reproaches. As my husband has renounced me in a public gathering, I shall enter fire and give up my life. Now Lakshman was indignant. How could Ram act in this way? He looked at his brother, but Ram remained impassive. He returned Lakshman's glance with a slight nod. Then Lakshman understood his desire, and feeling deeply pained and perplexed, constructed a pyre. Ram stood like Yamaraj, the god of justice. No one dared approach him or say anything. Only Sita came near him. She walked around him in respect and approached the blazing fire. The princess then prayed with folded hands, If I have never been unfaithful to Ram, either in mind, words, or body, may the fire god protect me on all sides. As my heart ever abides in Ram, so may the fire god save me now. As all the gods are witness to my chastity, let the fire god protect me. And after uttering this prayer, Sita walked around the fire, then fearlessly entered it before the vast assembly. Sita seemed like a golden altar with its sacred fire. Gods, rishis, gandharvas, siddhas, and other divine beings observed Sita walking deep into the fire, and all the women in the assembly sent up a great cry as they watched her ascend the pyre, like a goddess fallen from heaven and entering hell. A gasp of amazement and shock came from the crowd as they disappeared into the flame, as she disappeared into the flames. Ram was blinded by tears. He was afflicted to hear the cries of the people. With his mind set on virtue, his heart racked with grief, he watched Sita walk into the fire. From the sky, the gods, headed by Brahma, addressed Ram. How are you allowing this divine lady to enter fire? Do you not recall your actual identity? What is this play of yours, O Lord? Ram looked at the gods and folded his palms. He replied, I take myself to be a human. My name is Ram, the son of Dasarath. Let Brahma tell me who I was in my former lives. And from the sky, the four-headed Brahma seated upon his swan carriers, he replied, O Ram, I know you as the original creator of the cosmos. You are Vishnu and Narayan, the one supreme person who is known by many names. All the gods come from you, and the worlds rest upon your energy. You exist within and without all things, and you reside in the heart of every being. Your existence and your actions are inconceivable. You have appeared as Ram for the destruction of Ravana and the deliverance of your devoted servants. Now that you have accomplished your purposes, you should return to your own abode. Ram bowed his head, and he said nothing. At that moment, the fire god emerged. Who emerged from the fire? The fire god. And who was he holding? He was holding in his arms The princess was dressed in a red robe. She shone brightly like the rising sun. She wore a garland of celestial flowers. She was adorned with brilliant gems. Her dark curly hair framed her face, which glowed with transcendent beauty. Agni placed Sita before Ram and spoke in a voice that boomed out like thunder. "Here is your wife, Sita. No sin exists in her, neither by word, deed, nor thought, nor even by glance has she ever been unfaithful to you." Ravana forcefully snatched her away while she was helpless and forlorn. And although kept captive by him, her mind and heart remained focused on you at every moment. She did not give a single thought to Ravana, despite being tempted, threatened by him in many ways. Therefore, O Ram, accept her back with an open heart. Ram experienced great joy upon hearing Agni's speech. His eyes flooded with tears as he replied to the fire god, "Sita needed this purificatory ordeal. Otherwise the world would have condemned me as foolish and controlled by lust. She dwelt in Ravana's house for a long time, and her chastity had to be proven to the world, although I know of her undivided love for me. Indeed, guarded as she is by her own moral power, Ravana could not have violated Sita any more than the sea could transgress its bounds." So, in this way, Ram spoke at this point how he would accept Sita back. The final chapter is back to Ayodhya. We don't have time for that chapter, but we know that Ram was sent what? There was a huge, what? A flower airplane. And who got on the flower airplane? Everyone. How are they going to all fit? Did the monkeys get on the flower airplane? Yeah? How many monkeys were there? Hundreds and thousands. Did the people of Ayodhya also get on the airplane? Or, sorry, not Ayodhya. From there, from Lanka. Some did. Some did. And then what happened?
They flew over Kishkinda, and Ram was pointing out to Sita Devi all these
Yeah.
on their way to her.
And then finally what happened? They came into and they descended there in Ayodhya. And who was waiting for him? Huh? Bharat. Bharat had become very thin. Very thin. He was eating, what was it? Rice cooked in the urine of a cow. Something like that. He was doing all these heavy austerities. And he was dressing in the bark of trees. And the whole 14 years that Ram was gone, Bharat kept his lotus sandals on the throne and only served his desire. And now, when Ram descended from the airplane, then Bharat fell at his feet, and Ram picked him up and gave him such a hug, a loving hug. And there were many things told to one another. We don't have the time to read all that, although we should. We should actually read until midnight tonight. Then we can do justice, a little bit of justice to the Ramayana. But nevertheless, we've heard the story many times, and so has everybody in India. Okay? And the ruling of Ram began at that point. But we know that the ending of the Ramayana also shows him again banishing Sita. Why? Because people were talking. People were talking. And then there's one final scene that's not in this Ramayana. I think it's from the Tulsi Ramayana, where now Sita Devi comes from Valmiki's ashram. But before that, the two sons, who he doesn't know, and they begin to sing the Ramayana, Love and Kush. And then finally it becomes revealed that actually Ram is their father. And so now, when Ram hears this, gossip, that is going around in his kingdom. That, oh, I'm not like Ram. There's some kind of ordinary Sudra person, a washerman was telling to his wife, I'm not like Ram. You have gone away and been with another man. I never accept you back like this. So in this way, to make a long story short, finally, then Ram then summons Sita to come from Valmiki's ashram. And then she comes. And then what takes place at that time? Then Ram tells that you will have to prove. And then what does she do? She calls and prays to who? Yes, Mother Bhumi, the earth planet herself, to come. And the earth opens up. A beautiful, beautiful chariot comes, or throne comes up from the earth. Then Bhumi takes Sita onto that. The earth closes, and that's the end. And Ram is standing there, and he wants to take his arrows now and point them at the earth. Give me back my Sita. But then who tells him? Lord Brahma comes and says, my Lord, who? Valmiki. Oh yes, Valmiki, yes. This is the end. Because he wrote the entire Ramayana before Lord Ram had even grown to adulthood. He wrote that whole thing, you see. So in this way, the Ramayana ends, and our Gurudev, as we already heard, he always kept his love and attachment. When you go to his samadhi, over there at Shri Keshavaji Gaudiya Math, then the most beautiful, I think the most beautiful I've ever seen, figures are there in the diorama of Sita, Ram, Lakshman and Hanuman. And today I went there and paid my Dandavat Pranams. And so now the Ramayana has concluded, and all the residents of Ayodhya return to the spiritual world along with Ram, and that's the end of that chapter. But did Jai, this was Jai who became Ravana. Vijay became Kumbhakarna. So did Jai now end his time in this world? No, there's another episode. And that is the Krishna Leela. Yes, and in Krishna Leela, both of them had to again be killed by Krishna. And first of all, who was killed? Shishupal. Why? Huh? Who's saying that? You. Who's saying? Who's talking? Oh, Gayatri. Oh my God, you're hiding behind the chair. Which aparad? He kept on insulting Krishna in the presence, in Dwarka, as Krishna's sitting on the throne, and all of the great Kshatriya kings from all over the world are there, and he insulted. But Krishna simply sat there on the throne, and he was counting. And the reason why he was counting was because he had told the mother of Shishupal, because she asked, please, I know that my son is very, very bad, but please don't kill him. And then, whose phone? Or is that outside? Thank you, Maharaj. So then, where was I? Yeah, so Krishna promised to the mother of Shishupal that I will tolerate up to 100 insults from him, but then at that point he will be finished. And that's exactly what took place. And then Krishna, sitting on his throne, took his Sudarshan, sliced off the head of Shishupal. And then later on came the other brother, Dantavaktra, or was it before that? I forget which was first, which was second. So in that way, Jai and Vijay went through their 3 different lives and were killed by the Supreme Lord each and every time. And what was another reason why the Lord descended and sent them to the material world? Because in Vaikuntha, the Lord was desiring to do what? He was desiring to have fight. This is a rasa. and he's the relisher of rasa. But there was no one who could fight with him. And who detected this? His servants, Jai and Vijay. They were very capable of understanding the feelings and the mind and the heart of their master. And they could see that our master, he wants to fight. He wants to enjoy and taste the rasa, which it was called vira rasa, right? But there's no one that can properly fight with him. We could actually fight with him, but we couldn't give him a real fight because we're his devotees. And to fight really with someone, you have to hate them. You have to be angry against them. You have to want to destroy them. So we wouldn't be able to really do that. And then all of a sudden, the four Kumaras arrived on the scene, and all of a sudden, they, without knowing, they blocked them, and then they were cursed, and then the whole thing began. Why? Because everything that happens in the entire creation happens because the Lord wants to taste rasa. Everything that happens. The Lord wants to taste rasa because he's made of rasa. So that's what he does. Rasika Shekhar Krishna. So in this way, on this Ramayan Ram Nomi day, we have made a slight attempt to for just a very few minutes to hear all of this drama from the Ramayan and to whet our appetites. And we should understand that actually Lord Ram is Krishna. Krishna is none different than Ram. But yet, Krishna is our Ishtadev. Who? Radha and Krishna is our Ishtadev. And they have come as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And therefore, when we hear Ramayan, we understand actually these are the pastimes of the Supreme Lord in his different incarnations and expansions. So, in that way, we finish at the time of being exactly 2 o'clock p.m. And now we are going to end the program, and then we are going to serve wonderful Ekadasi Prasadam to all the devotees who are been waiting so patiently and with such a strong character and heart subdued your forceful hunger for the sake of hearing the great battle between Ram and Ravana. Gaur Premanandi. Shri Ramchandra Bhagavan ki jai. Ramchandra Bhagavan ki jai. Ramayan ki jai. The killing of Ravana ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Pancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam bhavanimya. Vaishnava Namaha.
Abhishek. Singing.
Start. Goswami, please start.
Start.
Gopati Ragha Para Jai Ram Patita Pavan Sita Ram Gopati
Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Ram Navami ki jai. Jai Nityalil Guru Smaster Karati Shishmat Bhaktivedanta Swami Maheshwar Prabhupada ki jai. Nityalil Guru Smaster Karati Shishmat Bhaktivedanta Narayan Swami Maheshwar ki jai. Nityalil Guru Smaster Karati Shishmat Bhaktivedanta Shilvana Goswami Maheshwar ki jai. Nityalil Guru Smaster Karati Shishmat Bhakti Balabatirtha Goswami Maheshwar ki jai. Nityalil Guru Smaster Karati Shishmat Shila Bhakti Raksha Shila Siddhar Goswami Maheshwar ki jai. Nityalila Pravishta Master Tadrika Shishman Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maheshwar Jai Nityalila Pravishta Master Tadrika Shishman Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Jaga Guru Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Rupa Noble Guru Varga ki jai. Sat Goswami Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Prem Shri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Atri Mayapur Samatri Gaurav Madhuri Kalki Virtuji Janjuri Motor Drew Glory Marker Shri Davati Dham ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Lakshman Hanuman Sitaram ki jai. Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Shri Ram Navami ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Om Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Kesarasi Cha Krishna Bhakti Karidevi Satyavatari Purnama Vancha Kapatulya Prima Sindhu Devi Cha Patitanam Parnevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namah